So the Bradley Beal trade stuff is happening again. Beal has already said he wants to stay in Washington his whole career, but that's not going to stop the internet. And my short opinion of this whole thing, before I end up talking about it for 10 minutes or whatever, is I think the Wizards still have a bit of a window of time here to turn their situation around. It might only be one season, but I think it is still there. And I say that because I feel like even if Beal only has 1 year left on his contract, I still think you could get a whole lot back for the guy, because I just think he's that good, and I think teams would want him that much. We've seen talk about the Sixers, the Warriors, the Lakers, the Heat, whoever else. I don't think the Wizards want to move Beal. I think they want to see what they've got with this team. And, between John Wall coming back, and who the hell knows how good he's going to be, but he's going to be back. They're going to re-sign Bertans, Bryant, Thomas Bryant, as I keep saying, is quietly becoming one of the best shooting centers in the league. They got Rui. They've got Troy Brown Jr. I think they're just going to see what they got with this team. Now, even if you want to be optimistic about some of the fringe guys on this team, like another one being Jerome Robinson or whatever, we would all agree that this team does not have a ceiling of being a title contender. But just because that's the case doesn't mean that you have to get rid of the one guy who gets people to buy tickets to your arena. When we eventually have fans like that again, of course. And we can do the whole spiel about, draft picks and all that. Draft picks are never a guarantee. I mean, you go down the top 10 of any draft, and it's not like every single guy selected ends up being good. So you could throw the Warriors' second pick, and you can put the Wolves' pick that the Warriors have got next year, top whatever protected that one is, and you'd have to put Wiggins in there to match the money. And I say this one because it seems like the Warriors are becoming the team to talk about for Beal. And I'm just not convinced that all that is better than Beal. Now, the draft is always tough, and sometimes it's more random than anything, but given that Wiggins would have to be the heart of that move, I just don't love it. If we talk about any other moves, the whole Ben or Joel thing, which, funny enough, it seems like Bradley Beal has become the savior of the Sixers, regardless of whether you'd rather keep Ben or Joel. Whether you want that to happen or not, we all know it's not going to happen this season. They changed coaches thinking Doc could be the guy. And the other team I've seen a bit of is the Nuggets. Gary Harris would have to be in the move. Michael Porter Jr. would be the only reason for the Wizards to do it. And I think, given MPJ's output in the NBA so far, I don't think he's done nearly enough to be confident in that sort of move if you're the Wizards. I understand the guy's potential, but I also understand that he's effectively barely played in the league because of his back, and he, of course, had that press conference where he basically just said, hey, we need to get me the ball more to beat the Clippers. That wasn't what he technically said, but it's what he basically said. And it's like, do I want to move that for Bradley Beal right now? I don't think so. And I think I've seen Miami talked about a bit. For them, it would have to be Iguodala, Olynyk, and Tyler Hero, and whatever draft picks Miami still has. You could probably put Kendrick Nunn in the move as well. And I like Tyler Hero, but I still don't really think that's enough for Beal. So yeah, to me, the potential moves for Beal at this moment are either not that good, or they're not going to happen right now. And when I look at this Wizards team that, they're probably not going to be that good, but whether it's getting 70 cents on the dollar for Beal or just hoping that with a healthy John Wall and Beal and whatever else, that this team can still be kind of good and climb to somewhere in the Eastern Conference, at this moment, I would rather just go with that. Now, let's say we're 30 games into next season, and the Wizards are not good. They're decently under 500. They're great on offense, bad on defense. Scott Brooks is getting yelled at for not being a good coach and all that stuff. Would I move Beal then? I don't know. Maybe if MPJ is lighting the world on fire. But even then, I'm not confident that I would do that if he made it clear that he wanted to stay. The real fear is that he declines the player option in 2023, or if he plays out the option and then just leaves the next season. But the other part about this too is I feel like if the Wizards took it all the way past this upcoming season, even if they weren't that good, and they got to the next offseason, they were like, you know what, we might have to trade this guy. Could they still get the same value for him? I mean, they would be pushing up against a potential player option decline. So maybe that would scare teams a little bit from trading for Beal. But at the same time, Beal, if he ever hits free agency, is going to be such a coveted player that I feel like teams would still scramble to trade for him to get that first attempt to keep him. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, you could just tell yourself, we're not going to trade for him right now because we'll just sign him in the offseason. Well, there's like 12 other teams who are saying the same thing, and only one of you is going to get him. I hope that was worth mentioning. I don't know. Another thing about a potential Beal move for the Wizards, while acknowledging that I don't even know if the Wizards are going to make the playoffs this upcoming season, is if the Wizards moved him, then they kind of sacrificed their ability to get good for a long time, which is pretty obvious. I understand that. But it's like, you never know with this stuff. How do I not know that this upcoming season, Rui is just going to go nuts and average 20 points a game? How do I not know that my guy Troy Brown Jr. is going to suddenly become one of the better all-around players in the league? I mean, this stuff happens every season. The Wizards also have the 9th pick in the draft. How do we know that they don't draft the Rookie of the Year? Or someone who ends up being very good, whoever it may be? How do we not know that they trade that pick for something good? Granted, they don't really have any tradable contracts with Mahimi's deal being up, but still, the point is you just never really know with this stuff. And I know we can look at the Wizards roster and we can go, oh, they're not going to be that good. They're not going anywhere. Might as well trade Bradley Beal. Well, if you do that, then you turn to Beal into a whole bunch of stuff that you hope ends up being as good as Beal one day. So, call me crazy, but I think you should try to figure it out with Beal a little bit more before you look to move him. I mean, I feel like we do this a lot where it's like, well, they got to trade this guy or whatever. You know, sometimes it ends up working out. Sometimes you're the Pistons, where you trade Chauncey and you do everything you can to try to get another Chauncey and it never works out. I mean, the Suns traded Steve Nash, and they're just now getting back to being kind of exciting. The Magic haven't figured it out since trading Dwight Howard, to the point where they're so desperate that they'll just make the 8th seed every year. Now, at the same time, the Pelicans traded AD, and then Brandon Ingram became an all-star the next season. So, yeah, there's definitely stories of it going well, but there's also definitely stories of it not going well. Basically, what I'm getting at, just to sum this whole thing up, is when you have a guy as good as Beal, I don't think you trade him until he's either yelling at you to move him or you are pushed up against the wall with an impending player option that gets declined or whatever. And I think the Wizards, they've got a little bit more of a window. It's not huge at this point, but it's a little bit more of a window. And even then, let's say the next couple years don't go well for them, but Beal still wants to stay, then you just keep him. And yeah, maybe you ended up wasting Bradley Beal's entire career. And that might suck for us as NBA fans who want to see Beal on a good team, and it would probably suck for Bradley Beal. But for the case of the Wizards, at least they got to keep Bradley Beal the entire time. Now, with everything I just said in this video, if for some reason Ben Simmons is actually on the trade market, then trade Beal for him in a second and get your extra draft picks because you know the Sixers would give it to you. And if you need John Wall to go stand in the corner, then go stand in the corner, and now you have Ben Simmons. So that'll do it for me. Thank you for watching whatever this video was. And that's that.